Hey guys, Creator Mom. I wanted to share a story about how I was saved from a sexual predator in my life. Um, I don't know why, but it just kind of was bubbling up. Um, when I was young, like 8, 9, I had a family member who, like, kind of distant. They didn't really live near us. Well, I lived in New Jersey, they live in New York. All right, not far. What, 30 minutes? Well, I guess depending on where in New Jersey and where in New York you live, but the tri-state area. And my mother would pick these people up, like, it was a younger cousin, not as young as me. I know sometimes that there's things in where children experiment with each other. That's not really abuse. That's not really predatory. That's more like children of the same age consensually experimenting. I was like, young, 8 or 9, and this person was, 16, something like that. That is predatory. And this happens a lot in a lot of families. I read that it's usually, you know, an older, but not yet an adult. It can be an adult too. You know what I'm saying? Obviously. But a lot of times it is like a younger child and an older child. The age gap is where, like, the older one knows what they're doing and they take advantage of the younger. Excuse me. So my mother would pick them up and, like, have them visit for weekends, like whatever, like in the summer, or she was all about picking up our family members and, like, taking them to the lake. And I don't know, it was weird. It was kind of like, oh, I want to show these people a good time for whatever reason. I don't know. It was, and they never had their own cars. It was always her, like, going to pick them up and feeding them. And anyways, so this was going on in secret, and yeah, like, what more can one say? Like, when you're under 10 years old or whatever, you don't really know what the hell is, like, going on. Like, you kind of know what's going on, but you're like, I was, like, scared, like I was. And this person was, like, he was kind of dark. You know what I'm saying? Not dark skin, like dark in nature. He was pretty fucked up. But yeah, I didn't say anything. Obviously, I was scared or whatever. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. And so, but I knew, obviously I knew I didn't feel right. I felt that I didn't feel right, but I just didn't know what to do about it. I felt powerless, probably, like many do. But I got saved out of it. It was fucking miraculous. So I think I was, like, a little bit over 10 because my brother was a baby. And that's how I remember when it kind of ended, because of my brother being born and stuff. But he was a baby, and my mother and his mother, they left the house to get something, go to the store or something. And he was sitting on the rocking chair with my brother, my baby brother, and I don't know, and I don't remember what was being said. I don't know if he was saying something evil to me or whatever the case was, but I was like, all I remember is me saying, give me my baby brother, give me my brother. He got up, he threw my brother at me, basically. I feel like it was very aggressive. And he punched a hole in the wall, like a pretty big size fucking hole in the wall. Now, I don't know, could I have been saying something mean to him? I have no idea, but I don't think I did anything worthy of this person punching a fucking hole in the wall, you know? He had issues. You know what I'm saying? He was dark. He had issues. God knows what was going on in this kid's life. He was also like very overweight too, so yeah, he punched a hole in the wall and left. He left. He walked out of the house. Thank God. Thank God. It was scary as fuck. I remember being terrified because where he punched a hole, like, you know, I'm standing here and he punched a hole like on the wall, like right next to me, like right on the side of me, very aggressively, and that was it. And he walked out, and then my mother and my aunt got back, and I was crying because I was terrified, and you're like, oh, what happened? And I'm like, he punched a hole in the wall. I'm not gonna say a name. And they're like, what? That's all I remember, like just saying like, yeah, he punched a hole in the wall. He was mad. I know it wasn't no really big reason for him to get to do that, you know what I'm saying? But it was, I believe it was divine intervention. Maybe I created that shit, that instance, you know what I'm saying? So that I didn't have to experience what the hell I was experiencing with this person anymore, to get him out of my life. Get him the fuck out of my life. I never wanted to see this person again. You know what I'm saying? Like, they were mean, they were abusive, they were disgusting. So yeah, thank God for that, right? Thank God for his aggression in that moment. So after that, my mother was like, okay, like, they won't come over anymore, you know, because of his act of aggression there towards me. And from what I remember, like, that was it. I think we did end up reconnecting with them when I was older, when I was like 16, 17. I remember going over their apartment building in New York City. And not New York City, just in New York, whatever, one of the boroughs. And yeah, we went over and, you know, just acted like nothing happened, you know? Like, I didn't say nothing about nothing, of course. Just acted like nothing even took place. Which is, you know, probably the bad thing in families, you know what I'm saying? Like, not addressing the elephant in the room, because for what? Right? For what? So that somebody could deny that something ever happened. You know what I'm saying? Like, what? Like, oh, you did this to me when I was, you know, little. No, I didn't. You know what I'm saying? It just probably seemed pointless in my mind to ever even do such a thing. The best thing to do was to, like, move forward and act like nothing ever happened, because I wasn't little anymore. I wasn't afraid anymore. I have more autonomy now. I'm 17 years old, whatever. Like, I ain't afraid of this dude. I'm bigger now. I understand more. I can protect myself or whatever. I'm not as paralyzed with fear as when I was like 8 or 9 years old, you know. So, or maybe even 7 too. Who knows? It might have been 7, 8, 9, or 8 and 9. Sometimes it's hard to recollect the time frames in these memories, but due to certain characters being in my life, I think that helps me remember time frames. Like my stepfather, my little brother being born. There was a lot of turmoil in my life around that whole chunk of time, like with my stepfather and my brother being born, because my mother and stepfather fought pretty often. I think he came into my life around 5 or 6 years old, you know, and it was good at times. We went on vacation, but there was a lot of quarreling. There was a lot of calling the police because Roy had a temper on him. And there was many times where he just kind of flew off the handle. I never saw him beating up my mom or anything like that, but they would just fight very like aggressively and like verbally violently, you know, like the energy. And it was scary. It was kind of like, oh shit, call the police worthy, you know what I'm saying? Like, this guy might be about to lose it. And my mother was losing it too, like, in a way, because she would get so angry that I remember one time when my mother was cleaning and it was Sunday, and Roy, whatever, my stepfather, loved football, you know, Sunday football. He would collect those like mini helmets. I don't know if you guys remember, there used to be those things you could buy for 50 cents from the little toy vending thing. And he would collect those little mini NFL helmets and see which one he would get, you know, like try to collect all of them from all the teams. It was actually kind of cute. But this guy would collect those things and shit like that. So he loved watching football, and I think that's what was going on that day. And she wanted him to get up and clean because she was cleaning, of course, right? And so she was so upset about that he was fucking not doing anything, and probably other things in their relationship, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm only little, I don't know what all is really going on. And she takes the TV and she throws it to the ground. Like, she swipes that shit right up. Hey, that's what anger can do. Anger can make you do some shit. And so yeah, that started a big argument. And then I think there was times I remember her throwing his clothes out the window, the police coming. There was another incident where we were having dinner with my grandmother, and you know, it was me, my grandmother, Roy, and my mother. And I think that my stepfather and my grandmother were sitting directly across the table from each other. And my grandmother got this great idea that she was going to take the paper off of around the juice, and she formed it into an airplane and threw it across the table at him. I don't know, a delusion must have came over her or some shit. Like, oh, I'm just going to be like funny and like throw this at this guy, like just for fun. And I guess it like hit him in the eye, and he got so fucking furious that he just lost it. He just flew off the handle, like, your fucking mother, blah, blah, blah. Like, he was angry. I mean, obviously, to me, he wasn't angry about that. This guy was probably filled with aggression about whatever, you know, whatever. And then that was just the thing that just was like, boom, it set off the bomb. So, again, like, he didn't really get physically violent with my mother, but maybe he threw some things around, was very aggressive. When I feel like when big, tall men get aggressive and get angry, it's very scary because you just don't know. Like, you're like, holy shit, like, it does put the fear of God in you. So my grandmother was all scared, and my grandmother, I remember, was frantically telling me to call the police. She was like, call the police, you know, and I think I did, you know, and I don't really remember what all happened from that point on. But anyways, I said all that to say I did have quite a bit of turmoil in my life at that age, but probably not a lot more than anybody else. I know that these experiences and experiencing sexual abuse, predators around this time of life is probably kind of common. It's not normal for sure, but it is common, I think, among the world we live in, unfortunately. But I do remember when I finally came out to my mother about what happened with that predator from my childhood. I think I told her maybe somewhere in my older teens or early 20s. I can't quite remember. I feel like we were driving in the car, and then we were talking about something, and then I told her. And then I think I remember her response being like, oh, wow, I'm sorry that happened to you. Like, fuck, that's crazy. It was more like, I think she did say, well, why didn't you say something so that it could prevent like other people from happening to other people, which was really ballsy of her, like, you know. And I was just like, okay, whatever. Maybe because I wasn't I could barely think about myself in those paralyzed moments. Why would I be thinking about like other people or whatever? Like, that's not my problem, you know? Like, you should have been watching out for the person's vibe, you know, at that age. So anyways, that's just what it is, right? And for some reason, I just wanted to share that. I really wanted to share it because about the encouraging part of where, like, I got saved out of it through this person's aggression. I didn't have to deal with him when I was throughout the age of 10, 11, 12. Imagine, like, I could just imagine, like, what if this person never left my life? What if my mother continued to have them come over our house every summer and every holiday? Could you fucking imagine I would have to deal with that shit from all the more years? That would have been way more traumatic and way worse. It would have been awful, I feel like. But that's not what happened, thank God.